Welcome to my podcast, Jack to the Future. From science and inventions to pollution and recycling, I talk about what's changing in the world, the future, and how we can help with that. Every month I'll talk about a different future theme. For example, the future of science, tech, sustainability, reading, music, and all sorts of other ones. The future of everything. Did you know? You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Jade to the Future and on YouTube as Jack to the Future. Follow me to get behind the scenes info, access to the previews about my next episodes, and much, much more. You may have heard that we had to reduce our podcast down to once a month, but we hope to release a brand new episode at the end of each month. Today, I welcome Graeme Robertson, photographer for the Guardian newspaper, to talk to him about the future of photography. As well as technology, future inventions and trending styles, we talk about the impact of current technology, like mobile phones, on the industry. A fun and super interesting episode coming up. Before I start, that's right, we're going to the past. Here in the UK, we often ask people to say cheese before photographing them. But why is that? Well, you may know that most people form their mouths into what appears to be a smile-like shape when they say cheese. But actually in the 19th century, it was frowned upon to smile in photos, as apparently it suggested you were a bit silly or a bit of a fool. You had to keep your mouth small, which led to photographers asking people to say prunes instead. Today, people from different countries also have adopted this method of getting people to smile, but with different words that sound similar to cheese. In Argentina and Colombia, it's whiskey. In Bulgaria, it's cabbage, pronounced zili. And in Sweden, it's omelette. How funny. Anyway, enough about food and drink. It's making me hungry. In preparation for this episode, I thought not only about cameras and the technology involved in taking a good picture, but also about photography trends, like how people use artistic effects and filters to make their photos look different. What's really interesting is how quick technology seems to move on. Photography may be one of the quickest. Some of the articles I was reading were already out of date and they were only a few years old. We've come a long way from the cameras a long time ago and they'll probably carry on developing. What do you think the future of photography is? The Cooperative of Photography have made 10 predictions about photography. These include things like stronger sensors, smaller and smarter cameras, and alternative energy solutions to power a camera. And we'll put the link to the video in the podcast description. I'd like to welcome my special guest, Graeme Robertson, who is a professional photographer for the Guardian newspaper. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi guys. Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Who or what do you take pictures of?
So I work for the Guardian newspaper and every day I have something new to photograph. That could be a famous person, that could be a news event like we've looked at the last couple of weeks with the Queen and the new Prime Minister. That could also be a story about somebody that has done something great or somebody that's done something not so great. So it really depends what is going on. So I could be doing anything and everything.
Wow, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, that's the thing about working for a newspaper is that you don't know what you're going to do, until the day before, if you're lucky. But most of the time, it's on the day. So you're waking up, you have your breakfast, and then you wait for the phone to ring. And normally it always rings very early in the morning and they tell me what to do. And off I go to do the jobs every day. And I never know what I'm going to do. It could be, as I said, to go and photograph somebody like yourself, or it could be go to photograph a building, anything. It's very varied.
Cool. Yeah, I really like to do that. We could take pictures of literally anything.
Yes, it really is literally everything and anything. Because some photographers, they specialise. So they might just do sport, or they might just do news, or they might just do portraiture. But when you work for a newspaper, you have to do everything.
Wow.
That's why I enjoy it so much, because I can do something different every day.
Yeah, I think I'd really enjoy that too.
Yeah.
Do you think proper cameras in the future will be replaced with iPhones, tablets, or even your own eyes? Well, so basically I thought that you had little lenses in your eyes that could take pictures and then send it to your brain so you can remember that exact time forever. But yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised That's probably a quick answer. The amount of technology and things have changed over the last 25 years is incredible. When I started doing photography, I still used film, and you only had 24 pictures in a film, and then you had to change it, and then you had to develop it, you had to use chemicals, and then you had a strip of pictures called negatives, and then you had to look through these negatives, then you had to scan these negatives, then you had to use Photoshop, then you had to send them. It was such a palaver. But now, with digital photography, you put a card on your camera and you can shoot thousands of pictures, can't you? Thousands of them, and then you put them straight onto your phone, your laptop, your iPad. And even the technology now is that I can press a button on the back of my camera and take a picture. Whenever I take that picture, it gets sent immediately straight back to my laptop. So when I open my laptop, I don't even need to download the pictures. The pictures are already there. Or I don't even need to send them because my office have access to the pictures in the back of my camera. So who knows what's next? I think the technology has changed so much. Have you seen the glasses? There's these new glasses that have cameras in them. And when you look somewhere, it focuses on where you look and you blink and it takes photographs. Isn't that incredible?
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of something like that before. A biometric camera designed by Mimizu that can take a photo when you double blink and can zoom in when you squint. And it looked really cool.
Can you imagine that in the future, you know? Sitting having dinner with somebody and they're doing this to you.
Graeme is blinking at me repeatedly, listeners.
You know that they're taking photographs of you.
Yeah. Then it kind of gets tricky because people may be taking photos of you and you wouldn't know.
You can say, take your glasses off. I think that in my job, I don't think that you'll get to the point that all you use is your phones. Now, the new technology in phones is incredible. And the new iPhone that have come out, that has almost the same quality as the cameras that I use for my work. Now, that is incredible. But it doesn't have the same capabilities as what my camera does. So I think professionally, I think the technology will continue to be updated, but it's at the point now that it's so good that there might not be that much difference. Probably because of storage. Because if you have images that are so big in quality, where do you store them?
Yeah.
You know, like then you'll need thousands of hard drives to keep all these photographs. So technologies will continue to change with cameras. Let's see. It's quite exciting.
Yeah. It may get bigger or it may get smaller. You never know. You could take pictures with a microchip, but I don't know if you can really do that already.
Yeah, you probably could. I think something like, you know, the watches. I think the watches will become much more in trend over the next 10 years. And I think that cameras on your watch will become much better.
Yeah.
Cameras on the phones are incredible now. So I'm not sure how much more technology can be put into a phone, you know?
Yeah, that'd be really tricky. If you had glasses on, you needed glasses like you, Graeme, glasses that weren't taking photos. They might think you're taking photos of you when you're not, but
yeah, exactly.
That might be a problem. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Maybe you should just try and not blink when you're meeting people, or maybe take your glasses off.
Yeah. I read an article about a researcher from the California Institute of Technology who is in the process of designing a flat, flexible camera with no moving parts, mirrors, or lenses. It looks like a credit card. What's your opinion on the future of cameras?
Who knows what the future of cameras is? The technology of cameras that I use for my job, they're really quite incredible. And I think that they will continue to be updated. But I think the size is quite important because the size in digital, when I first got digital cameras, they were huge and heavy because the technology was big. And that's what happens. The technology is getting so clever that the chips are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So that means the cameras can get smaller and smaller and smaller. So the camera I now use is very small and very light, but the quality of it is that you could take a picture and blow up that picture twice the size of a house would still be perfect. They'll become quicker because my camera now can take 10 pictures every second.
Wow.
And they are 50 megabytes each. So it's like huge amounts of information.
Yeah.
So I think that everybody in the world has cameras now. You walk down the street, and if you go shopping and you look around, just imagine everyone's got a phone in their pocket. So that means that everyone's got a camera.
Yeah, that's very true. Also, I watched this video on YouTube the other day, and they found a really very thin camera it could take quite high quality pictures. And yeah, it looked pretty cool.
The technology now is that there's these things called mirrorless cameras. So before, the light would come into the camera and hit a mirror, and then it would reflect up into where you took the photograph. Now they don't have that, and that's why the cameras can be smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's probably what you saw.
Yeah.
It's incredible how things change. In 20 years, you'll see the big difference in technology like I have. It'll keep changing.
It will. I wonder what it will be like.
I wonder what cameras will be like.
Yeah. We saw a camera with loads of different sized lenses. It looked like an alien with loads of eyes.
Yeah, that's one of the things that in photography has changed very dramatically is the quality of the lenses. So if you have a really fantastic, top of the range, just out the box camera, but you don't have a top of the range, just out the box new technology lens, then they don't really quite work together. So you don't actually get the full function. It's like when the new 4K TVs came out. You didn't have the films to watch in 4K, so it was kind of pointless, you know? So now the lenses, to go with these new technology bodies, cameras, they need to sort of slightly catch up. And it's only recently, maybe over the last year, that these big companies, Canon, Nikon, Sony, Leica, are really putting a lot of money and a lot of research into the new wave of kind of lenses, which are faster, quicker to focus, more intelligent for sports photography, so they can follow focus, so they can follow a point. They're a lot lighter. So that side of the technology for cameras will continue to become better to go along with the new technology of the cameras. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it does. So because everyone has a camera in their pocket in their phones, anyone could be a photographer. We were thinking about your job and competition. What do you think about that?
That everyone will become a photographer.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody a few days ago that I think that what it does is that it changes the news. Maybe not the photography, but it changes what you read and what you see. Because a while ago, for a news event or for something to happen, a photographer would have to be there to see it, to photograph it, to show it to you. But now everyone has got cameras. So wherever something happens, anywhere in the world, there's a big chance that somebody is there. And if somebody is there watching that event happening, they're most likely going to take a photograph of it. So that means that the world is open for everybody to see things. Changes my job in a slight way, but there will always be that room for photographers to take that story a little bit further, because that's what newspaper photographers and professional photographers do. They look at a story and they take it just that little bit further to make the reader learn a little bit more than just a one-off kind of picture. But you're right by saying that everyone does think they're a photographer or they can get involved in photography. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that opens the world for everybody to photograph things that are around them and to share them with the rest of the world. In some cases, the things that they will share are very important for you to see, if that was something perhaps that was not possible to see in the past. So I think it's really exciting that everyone has access to a camera.
Yeah, I've never really thought of it like that before. Like you said, like how it changes how they look at things. And
everybody wants to not just remember that sort of moment of that beautiful view or that meeting with an old friend or that music concert. They all want to photograph it, to share it, either with family or on social media. So that means that everything's getting documented.
Yeah.
Imagine if everybody had to switch their phones off for a week and you weren't allowed to take photographs or make calls. It would
Oh,
be very strange now. I feel like you missed something. I wonder what events would happen that you wouldn't get to see. You would only hear about. And that's what it used to be like.
that would be really
You
weird.
had to wait the next day to know the news of the day before. But now, if something happens now, you'll know about it in 5 minutes later.
Yeah, you will. Yeah. That's very true. It has changed very, very much. There have been different trends of photography this year, like a smoke bomb to create a surreal picture or a dark, moody background. One trend that might be popular is 360 degrees photography. Have you taken any pictures like that before?
Yes, 360 photography has its place. I think that in photography, a lot of trends come into here, and things are fashionable for a while. It was very fashionable for a while to use tilt shift lenses, popular to use a particular kind of lighting or particular kind of poses. And these trends will continue to come and go. And I think that these are a bit of fun, people trying to make things their own style. I think that real photography is capturing moments and will be captured by photographers for many years to come. Trends or no trends.
Yeah, that's true.
Forget all the filters and the this and the that. If you photograph a moment in time, that will live forever. You know, you don't need anything else. You don't need a smoke bomb, or you don't need to shoot it in 360. And that's what the 360 photography and these sort of trends, they can work really, really well in certain situations. For example, 360 is very good if you want to look around. If I took a photograph of a beautiful church, inside of a church, and you looked around that church and it was beautiful, and the ceiling and the floor and the seats and everything. But if I just took one photograph of it, I wouldn't be able to show you all that beauty. If I shot it on a 360, you could then look around and you could really see that kind of moment, which it really works. But if you're photographing a person, then there's no need for 360 because you don't want to see what's behind them. It's not that interesting. Yeah. So if they're used properly and not overused, they can be a really interesting thing to use. But some other times, people use these things just for the sake of them. And that's when it's a bit boring. Like, you don't want to see everything in 360, or you don't want to see everything that has a filter on it, or you don't want to see everything with a different background. So you need to use things cautiously. Yeah. And throughout everything, the normal photo, without any of the bells and whistles, they're the ones that you always come back to and think, actually, I quite like that.
Yeah.
I would anyway.
I like the idea. That's good. Because there's moments you really want to take photos of that wouldn't really need anything else. It just gives you a really good memory as it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Have you got a favourite photo that you've taken?
Favourite photo? Wow. I had a pound every time somebody asked me that.
Or maybe your favourite thing to take photos of?
I like photographing people. I think people are very interesting. I think that whenever you are a photographer and you photograph somebody, you can really see into that person. As a photographer's job is to try and make that person as comfortable as they possibly can, to try and figure that moment out, to try and photograph them so they're real, they're as normal as possible, you know? Mm-hmm. I enjoy that kind of power, that sort of enjoyment that I'm in control for that couple of minutes and something is produced from that. And it's completely up to me to make that photograph work or not work. And that's the joy of portrait photography. Where in news photography, which I really enjoy, news photography is a lot to do with experience and luck. You have to be at the right place at the right time and be organised technically to be able to photograph what happens in front of you. Where in portrait photography, it's up to you because you can put that person wherever you want, or you can treat that person however you feel necessary to treat them to get a picture from them. It's a different way to work. I enjoy that sort of portrait side of things. I enjoy big events, things that matter, things that will live on. As a photographer, they're the things you always want to photograph, things that matter, because you'll look back and you'll remember the times. I covered the Iraq War, for example, and spent 5 years living in Iraq. day to day. In my generation of people, that will be a moment in time that people will always remember. The statue in Baghdad falling, your mum will remember that. Moments that really matter, it's very interesting to be there. And you can look back and you can actually say, I was there. But I think people is the thing that I'm most interested about in life. I like people. I like meeting new people, and I like working in studios and location with people.
Yeah. I really like the sound of those two. I like that you get to choose sort of style that you want the person to be in for portrait.
Really fun.
Yeah.
It's quite hard too, because when you meet some famous people, sometimes they're in a real rush, and they say, you have 1 minute. A lot of photographers are panicked by that. And they think, oh my goodness, I'm only going to have 1 minute to photograph this person. Where I love it, because that really shows, you need to be very disciplined and you need to know what you're doing. So I actually enjoy that kind of pressure. One of the most exciting things in my job. Have you ever been in a situation that you speak to yourself, oh, I need to calm down, or I need to do this,
Yeah.
They're good moments for you. They teach you about yourself, how to be calm and collective and professional, and think about the things you've learned. I enjoy pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy a bit of pressure? When you've got loads of homework to do? Do you enjoy right, I'm going to get that done? Or do you panic?
Kind of both. Oh yeah, mostly panic.
Well, that's homework. I panicked about homework as well, so don't worry about that.
Thank you so much for talking to me today. I think my favourite part was definitely talking about your opinions on the future of photography. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
I could speak to you all day. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your show. Maybe we can speak again another time.
Yeah, sounds good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. See you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. I've learned so much about different types of photography and that technology that makes it possible. I really liked what Graeme said about capturing a moment in time without any sort of special effects and how they can be the photos you love the most. Join me next time for another exciting episode of Jack to the Future.